Hey everyone, Ollie here. So this is the base model M2 MacBook Air. It has 8GB of unified memory, 256GB of storage, and it's actually quite hard reviewing a device like this, mainly because I'm not actually the target audience. So I've realized I've had to change my perspective when testing this device. This is clearly primarily targeted at people who are looking for a thin and light laptop that can do the essentials whilst also doing some tough tasks now and again. I could see this being ideal for a uni student, a junior designer or developer, or someone who just needs a laptop to do normal boring things like word processing, spreadsheets and browsing the web. By the way, if you like this wallpaper, I'll leave it linked in the description. The design is the biggest exterior change for this new M2 MacBook Air, and I think it's actually my favorite thing about this new machine. It follows the design of the larger Pro models, but it's much slimmer and lighter. I think it looks amazing. After using it as an actual laptop, carrying it to and from the office and using it around my home, it's so nice using something that's so light and thin. I had gotten used to the weight and thickness of my 14-inch MacBook Pro. That now feels bulky in comparison to the Air. The Air feels incredibly modern and sleek, and with it having the typical all aluminium build, it feels absolutely solid. One issue some people might have is with the color of this thing. So I have the midnight color here, and yeah, it does attract a lot of fingerprints. It sure looks incredible in this color, and it almost has different shades of blue depending on the lighting, but it just attracts fingerprints like crazy. I'm having to constantly wipe it down with a microfiber cloth to keep it looking clean and new. I personally wouldn't get this color again. I would most likely get the space gray. The keyboard is now the same one you'll find in the Pro machines with the full height function row of keys. It's an absolute pleasure to use as expected, and it has got to be the best keyboard you can get in a laptop of this form factor. The new redesign also includes a new Magsafe adapter, a very nice addition from the Pro models, and it gives you an extra port. Now you don't have to take up one of the Thunderbolt ports to charge the machine. The screen is very similar to the previous model. It's simply a little larger and a little brighter. It's not 120Hz though, which would have been nice to see. I can definitely see the difference between this and my 14-inch MacBook Pro. The Pro machine of course has a better screen, but considering this isn't a Pro machine and it's not really targeted at the same sort of people, yeah, I'm not really too disappointed. Also, I just don't see the use case of 120Hz on a machine like this. I'm not really sure when and where you'd use it other than it's a nice to have. I also wanted to thank ClearVPN for sponsoring this video. ClearVPN is perfect for browsing the web privately or changing your location so you can access other types of content. ClearVPN has reinvented the VPN in terms of both design and user experience, making an app you'd love using. The beautiful and intuitively easy design helps you enjoy online interactions rather than focusing on complex tech details and server picking. Your data is safe with ClearVPN's AES-256 encryption and cutting-edge protocols. You can connect up to 6 devices per account and you get the full VPN experience anywhere. When using a public network, you can use ClearVPN to browse the web privately and securely. ClearVPN is available on Setapp, a platform with tons of productivity-focused apps and tools. Setapp also gives you access to more than 200 other apps to help you solve thousands of other tasks. Setapp is a service I've recommended in the past and I think is well worth a $9.99 a month price tag. The apps you get with it are awesome and useful for any Mac user. So make sure to check out ClearVPN through Setapp. You can try it for free for 7 days. I'll leave a link down in the description below. The other big change you can't see with the M2 MacBook Air is of course that M2 chip. I'm sure most people have seen the benchmarks already and all sorts of other tests. It's obviously meant to be a better chip than the M1 in the older MacBook Air, but it's not really a huge jump in performance. Don't expect to see absolute night and day differences. It's more of a sort of minor improvement. For day-to-day usage, I don't think most people are actually going to notice much of a difference going from M1 to M2. Sure, it may complete a couple of tasks a few seconds quicker, but usually they're the more intensive stuff. If you have an M1 machine, don't feel like you're missing out. The M1 chip is still very capable. Like I said earlier, I had to change my perspective when using this machine. I couldn't use it like I used my 14-inch MacBook Pro. I did try and do very intensive stuff on it, such as running multiple heavy applications at once and video editing, and found it struggling. You can saturate the 8GB of memory quite quickly with heavy apps. You can definitely still do stuff like edit photos in Lightroom and edit a video in Final Cut Pro. It's just not going to be as quick or as smooth as one of the Pro machines. If you edit the odd photo or video here and there, you'll be completely fine, but don't get this machine for heavy creative work that you expect to do every day. However, if you're someone like me who is maybe designing in Figma or coding in Visual Studio Code or something like that, this is an absolutely awesome laptop for it. What makes it so good for applications like that is that they're also not that heavy on battery life. You can easily work in them all day without having to connect to a power source. Now onto the SSD issue, which has got a lot of people upset, understandably. So basically, this has one 256GB NAND compared to the two 128GB NANDs in the M1 MacBook Air. Because of that, this is actually slower when it comes to read and write speeds compared to the M1 MacBook Air, the base models anyway. I'm comparing the base models here. However, that only really makes a difference when you're transferring big files regularly. And I sort of do think to myself, if you're getting the base model, you're most likely not transferring big files regularly anyway. So yeah, you may be losing a few seconds here and there transferring big files and stuff, but I don't really think it's the end of the world. Of course, it's still disappointing. Like, we shouldn't really be having slower speeds going to a higher end, but sort of upgraded model. It's obviously upsetting that Apple have done this. I think they should have stuck with two 128GB NAND chips, because, you know, you're buying a more expensive machine here. You should be getting sort of more performance, not less. So yeah, I can completely understand why some people are upset. If you're upset and you think it's going to be an issue for you, then yeah, don't go for it. Maybe upgrade to 512GB of storage, or just go for the older model. But if you're not someone who's going to be transferring lots of files regularly, yeah, you're most likely not going to see any difference anyway. And then we come on to pricing. The new base model M2 MacBook Air starts at $1199. That's $200 more than the base model M1 MacBook Air. You could argue that due to hyperinflation that we've been having over the last couple of years, that this pricing is actually in line. But if anything, it actually makes the M1 MacBook Air a really good deal. What I think justifies that $200 price jump is the new redesigned chassis, the new webcam, the new Magsafe port, a slightly better screen, and of course the M2 chip. If none of those matter to you, then the M1 MacBook Air is going to be more than good enough, and you can usually find it on a good deal as well. I personally will be keeping it and using the M2 MacBook Air, mainly because it's perfect for the sort of scenario that I'm going to be using it for, which is mainly when I'm traveling. I don't need to carry around a big bulky 14, well, it's not even that big, the 14-inch MacBook Pro, but it is heavier and bulkier than this. I'd rather carry on something light. And when I'm traveling, I'm not usually doing heavy work like video editing or Blender rendering or anything like that. So this is more than capable enough for me. And yeah, I think it's a great machine. I think for the price, I don't think it's as good as a deal as the M1 MacBook Air, like I mentioned. But if you're really set on having the new design, having the new webcam, the new screen, the new M2 chip, you're going to love it. I think all round, it's a pretty good machine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe for more.